Welcome to the fourth episode of the Indic Past series, in which I am going to discuss about the redesign of the zodiac done by Skanda. This is in continuation of the last two episodes, where I discussed about the birth myths of Skanda and also the climatic conditions prevailing them. And it came to be known that Skanda had lived at the end of Ice Age or before the start of Holocene or during the times of Younger Dryas that happened 12,000 years ago. That marked a change of an epoch or a change of a cycle by melting of the ice and also numerous sea floods. As of now, the scientists have recognized only a change in the insolation at the time. But interestingly, only in Indic records, particularly pertaining to Skanda's life events as narrated by Markandeya in Mahabharata, we come across certain astronomy references which do indicate a change in the cycle of eccentricity of the Earth's orbit, by which the Earth has changed its orbit from an elliptical path to the now secular path, by which one of the stars, namely Abhijit, which was part of the zodiac, seemed to have drifted away from the zodiac. So, this is being discussed along with the other features that are associated with Skanda, such that the presently in use zodiac was originally redesigned by Skanda only. Apart from this, I am going to talk about two other issues, which is actually a sequence of the events that we have been discussing from the past episodes, which include the marriage of Skanda and the Apasmara Vyadis or shamanism associated with Skanda. Please watch this video and give your valuable comments. Keeping in line with the sequence of events given by Markandeya in Mahabharata, I am going to talk about the marriage of Skanda with Devasena now. Skanda married Devasena, who was the daughter of Daksha Prajapati, and this was facilitated by Indra, says Markandeya. In the Tamil tradition, Devasena is treated as a daughter of Indra, and Indra had offered Devasena in marriage with Skanda. Here a question comes, is this about some mythical story or did a person by name Indra live? In fact, the name Indra appears in three different contexts. One as a deity and another as a natural force that we discussed in a previous episode, in the second episode, of rainfall and clouds, and then striking Skanda with Vajrayuta. So that is a natural force, the Indra, Devendra. And here we are talking some Indra in terms of a human being. So all these three are possible. If you are looking at the stories of our Indian scriptures, we come across the name used in any one of these meanings. And when we are looking at the location of Skanda, we do come across a place called Indradvipa mentioned in the text. There was an Indradvipa, then a Swarnadvipa, followed by Shakadvipa, which was known as Savagative in Tamil literature, where southern Madurai can be located. Here I am showing a flower close to Myanmar, Laos and Thailand. This flower is the Parijata flower, which was supposed to be growing only in Indraloka. And this was brought by Satyabhama and Krishna from Indraloka as per the narration of Mahabharata. And if you are looking at the habitat of this particular plant in the world, it is indigenous only to India and this part of Asia only, not in any other place. So it becomes more or less clear that Parijata, on the basis of Parijata plant, we can say that this was a place which was once known as Indra's place or Indradvipa, or the kings who were ruling this place were known as Indra, particularly during the time of Skanda. And even in the stories of Ravana, we are coming across his son Indrajit winning over Indra. So these are all close by. That is, these regions are around the Bay of Bengal. So this gives rise to an opinion Indra was there in that place. And Skanda and others were there in the place where volcanism was rampant at one time, and Skanda had retreated to Trichandur after that. So the adjoining places or the places around the Bay of Bengal was peopled by some, and who have had some interaction in the past. And here we are talking about the interaction between Skanda and Indra and then Devasena. So there is a possibility that Indra was a human being, a person who lived in flesh and blood, and these interactions have happened. And Markandeya starts telling about some 8 names for Devasena in the context of the marriage. She was known as Shashti. This Shashti Devi is worshipped even today for longevity. On the day of birthday, one is supposed to worship Shashti Devi. And then Lakshmi, Asha, these are all very well-known names which we need not have to explain the meaning, but the meaning itself shows that the kind of concept for which Devasena was known for. Then there is Sukaprada, there is Sinivali, and then Kuhu, and then Sadvritri and Aparajita, in which Sinivali and Kuhu seem to be new names. Actually, Sinivali appears in Rigveda, wherein it is stated she is the deity who grows the embryo or who places the embryo in the womb of a person. So a person who wants progeny should worship Sinivali. And Sinivali is actually the time of the 14th phase and Amavasya, whereas Kuhu means Amavasya in conjunction with the first day of the brighter phase. So the homas or some worships done in those times are supposed to give very great results, and the particular result being getting progeny or some sons. So all these names were related to Devasena, and supposed to give she is supposed to give longevity and also progeny. Probably this was related to the time then when there was some mortality rate was high, and people have been dying because of some natural calamities. Skanda and Indra had devised some ways and means to somehow give hope to the people, and also prayer methods for the people, worship methods for the people. The Devasena was named like this, and she was deified. Today we are worshipping her along with the sky in the temples. So the origins of that practice seem to have started from this period, from the time of Skanda's marriage with Devasena. Markandeya continues the narration with the wives of the 6 sages approaching Skanda, saying that since they have been impersonated by Swaha to give birth to him, they must be declared as the mothers of Skanda, and Skanda accepted them. So the 6 Rishipatnis were the mothers of Skanda. In that context, so we have to see how Markandeya was giving that sequence. Immediately after this, Markandeya seems something strange of Indra telling Skanda that Abhijit, the star Abhijit, being jealous of the eldest sister Rohini, had retired to the forest. Here I am showing you the names of the 27 stars of the zodiac where the Abhijit is placed here. You should remember, we have already discussed this. Kritika was not part of the 27 star zodiac, only Abhijit was there. So when we are counting the stars like this and arrange them in this way, that is, they arrange them in groups of 3 with 9 each. Even now it is being followed, it's known as Paryaya, each Paryaya having 9 stars. When we are arranging this, we can see the horizontal rows of 3 each. So Rohini, Hasta, Abhijit belong to the same category, ruled by moon in astrology. So like this, these rows come within the same category of stars, we can say. So by this we can say that Rohini was the eldest sister of Abhijit. But Abhijit was not known as Abhijit. Abhijit is a masculine name, but it was known as Shashi, is what we know from Bhagavad Gita, in which Krishna identifies himself as Shashi among the stars. That was a feminine name, and this gives an impression or gives an opinion or a very confirmed opinion that the Indic society had followed the path of the moon across 27 stars in the sky and have named them like this and had observed their movement. So it was all well laid even before that. The names had been there even before Skanda's times. Now the question. If Abhijit was dropped, what does it mean? What does it mean by Abhijit having retired to the forest? Now I am thinking in these lines. Skanda's time marks the end of an epoch because it happened at the time of the end of Ice Age and also when Younger Dryas was running, that we have already seen in the third episode. Here I am showing the ecliptic of the earth or the path of the earth. This is a projection of earth's path where we can locate the stars, all the 27 stars. Here I am locating the three stars, Rohini, then Abhijit here, and then Hasta here. We can definitely locate them because all the three stars in each row, they come in the edges of or the tips of the equilateral triangle. If you are joining these stars, they will form an equilateral triangle. The star may be somewhere within that region, but the star is identified as a span in the sky consisting of 13.2 degrees only. So now I have plotted them here in the ecliptic, which is known as Kranti Valaya. This is not a single line in reality. It is a span of 24 degrees above this line and 24 degrees below that. So it is a totally 48 degrees span of Kranti Valaya where the earth is just wobbling and then going around. It is Earth's, there is the sun is being seen there and the planets also are seen to move around this path. The point is, over a period of time, this path keeps changing by what is known as eccentricity. Now, after some time, it has changed like this, and now it is almost circular. But you can see that Abhijit is left out of it. This is what must have happened, and it takes 1 lakh years according to Milankovitch, which however stands disputed today, and it is 1,44,000 years according to Indic science, which I will discuss later. That means over a period of more than lakh years or 1,44,000 years, the ecliptic had moved like this from ellipse to the circular path by which Abhijit is seen left out of the zodiac. That must have been told by or meant by Indra in that dialogue. Even today, those who are watching the sky regularly, that is a naked observation, you can roughly gauge the ecliptic path by the star band or also by the movement of the moon. Today we can see that Abhijit is far north and the ecliptic just turns south of Abhijit. So we can say the movement of this ecliptic is from north to south. That is, eccentricity had shifted from north to south. This is a very valuable information that is only enshrined in the Indian scriptures, what we have to bring to the world of the scientists to know more about it. And this is the only literature available in the world to show that epoch change has happened. This is being told in terms of the observation of the stars. And so a change of epoch is also noticed by the end of the Ice Age when Skanda was born, which we established in the third episode. And another change in the position of the star is that Arundhati had not left her position behind Vasishta, which had been so for thousands of years earlier, and it is even continuing now, is what is being conveyed by Indra to Skanda. Now coming to the next thing that Indra says is, since Abhijit has retired to the forest, let us include Kritika star into the zodiac. Kritika star was already in the zodiac but was not recognized as part of the zodiac, and it was recognized only by Skanda. And that Kritika is actually a group of 6 stars. So now here we are coming to the next decipherment of a secret. The next secret is going to be deciphered now. In most of the stories of Skanda, it is being told that he was suckled by the Kritika sisters, the 6 Kritika sisters, the Kritika mothers. They have been elevated as the mothers. But earlier we are seeing that the 6 Rishipatnis were the mothers. And now following that, Indra says, talks about Kritika. So this shows the wives of the 6 rishis were identified as Kritika stars at that period of time. So who were the wives of the 6 rishis? They must have been Abhijit. Abhijit must have been a group of 6 stars which was recognized as the 6 Rishipatnis. The 7th Rishipatni was Arundhati, and both Arundhati along with the Saptarishi Mandala and Abhijit are continuously encircling, going round and round the North Pole star according to the precession cycle of the Indic signs. In the Western signs it is not so, but time is not far away to recognize this, as there are changing perceptions happening in the Western world also, which is out of focus for this particular topic here. So it is enough to say that Abhijit was initially recognized as the wives of the 6 sages. Arundhati was the 7th Rishipatni, and since Abhijit had deviated from its original position, it was thought that the 6 Rishipatnis have deviated from their positions. Anyway, they were accepted as Skanda's mothers, and once Kritika was elevated into the zodiac, the Kritika stars were recognized as the mothers of Skanda. Before going further, I want to talk about the implication of exclusion of Abhijit and inclusion of Kritika in the zodiac to unravel some mysteries and some secrets. Here I am showing the zodiacal map as it is done in the Tamil tradition, and it is in the clockwise direction, and this boxed one is the first sign, that is the Aries or Mesha, and on top I am showing vernal equinox. On one side WS is winter solstice, that is Uttarayana. On the right it is SS, which is summer solstice for Dakshinayana. When Abhijit was still part of the zodiac, Rohini was in Mesha Rasi. You can see here Ashwini, Bharani, then Rohini, no Kritika. And all these are numbered up to 4. That is the 4 padas. So without these numbering as 4 padas, it is difficult to understand or interpret them. So this pada differences must have been, pada division must have been there before Skanda's time. So when Dhanishta second pada was having the Uttarayana, the vernal equinox will occur at Rohini first pada. But the interesting point is Dakshinayana will start at Magha Nakshatra, the 4th pada. So certain texts, Vedic texts, do talk about Magha Nakshatra and even Rohini. And the people are trying to align that with the Western astrology software, which is just going around the zodiac for 26,000 years. But it is not so. Here, this kind of alignment, that is Rohini could have had, we could have seen vernal equinox, and Dakshinayana could have started at Magha when Abhijit was part of the zodiac. That is the revelation here. And another point I want to show here is a Vishaka, which is not split, which is inside the constellation, the sign of Libra, whereas only Swati was split. And Swati was split like this. That is the equinoctial line which is dividing the zodiac into 2 halves. If the vernal equinox falls at Ashwini first pada, the autumn equinox will fall at the second pada of Swati. This is known as Swadipatam and found in Valmiki Ramayana. In Valmiki Ramayana, after Setu was built, Valmiki compares Setu with Swatipatam. He says the Setu is shining like the Swatipatam in the sky, which is dividing the sky into 2 halves. Swatipatam during Ramayana's time is impossible to happen, because this was possible only when Abhijit was part of the zodiac. And Ramayana could not have happened when Abhijit was part of the zodiac, because Ikshvakus, the Vaivashvata Manu, had not yet come into existence. It was the time of Skanda. So the reference was to a previous time, 12,000 years before present, like it's counted from now, when Abhijit was part of the zodiac, when Skanda was there, Swadipadam was realized, was seen by the people. So that memory had been carried down by the Ikshvakus and other people and brought by Valmiki in Ramayana. Now I am showing the redesigned one after Abhijit was excluded and Kritika was included. This is how the zodiac looks, which is similar to how it looks today. But what you should see is that Vishaka is divided between two signs. And you should also remember Vishaka, the name did not exist before Skanda's times. So earlier this star should have been known as Radha, then only the next star can be Anuradha. Only during Skanda's time, for some reason, he came to be known as Vishaka. And that reason we discussed earlier in the earlier episodes. Like the Vajrayana had split Skanda into two, and so he became Vishaka. Normally Vishaka means branched, whereas Markandeya says that Skanda was split into two, and other one was Skanda himself, a replica of Skanda. That's why in later texts we are finding that Vishaka was a replica of Skanda or sibling of Skanda or a son of Skanda. All these are later additions. As time goes by, we lose memory, and then somehow we are trying to fix up things. But this is the core, this is a source. So only when you go to the source, when you go to the fundamentals, you will be able to know what they talk about, and you will be just decipher everything properly. So this Vishaka was divided here and given the name Vishaka. Why the name? They could have retained the name as Radha himself. Why they had it as Vishaka? There's only one reason. Because this redesign was done by Skanda, who for some reason came to be known as Vishaka, and to perpetuate that memory, they have named it here. Normally, these rishis, when they are making a person into a deity, some mythical elements they will be adding. But the events in that person's life will continue to be there. That will be hidden in those myths. So there is something about Skanda. Some kind of splitting or shedding or something had happened with Skanda's very own existence, very own physical body. Only then they can transfer it into this kind of natural event, and then add a mythical nature, mystic nature around it. And what was that will be discussed in a future episode. Now going further, I am here giving you a verse from Shiva Purana, which says that the goat was lost. It just was they were all searching for the goat, and it was spotted in Vaikunda and brought back. And Kartikeya, that is Kanda, who could carry the weighty universe, look at the word, and the worker of great miracles, he quickly rode on the goat. And within a muhurta, the goat walked around the universe and without exhaustion returned to the same place. So this seems to be a reference to the Mesha becoming the center or midpoint of the cycle. Mesha or Ashwini first pada is a midpoint of the precession cycle of the Indic signs of precession or movement of equinoxes. It is not so in the Western signs, which just started with Hipparchus some 2000 years ago. Here we are talking about a 12,000 year history, where it has been told that Mesha was restored there. Mesha, that is a year or whatever the movement had started from Mesha and then come back there. So this gives rise to an opinion that previously, when due to eccentricity, when the orbit was elsewhere or elliptical, the midpoint was elsewhere. It had drifted. Now by the time of Skanda, they had just laid out all procedures, everything. Then found that the goat or Mesha seems to be the central point. So let us establish it. Let us perpetuate it. That is what they have done. So we can say the zodiacal redesignment had happened only during the time of Skanda, particularly elevating goat or Mesha as the first sign of the zodiac and also as the midpoint of the equinoctial movement. This concurs with the Indic signs, not with the Western present knowledge of precision. And it also proves that the Greek opinion about the transference of the knowledge of science had happened from Greeks to India is wrong. Much long ago, 12,000 years ago, Skanda had established the sign means the knowledge of the signs. When they are able to do the zodiacal redesign, definitely the knowledge of the sign is there. Look here, Vishaka is being split means it is being split between two signs. So the knowledge of the Rashi or signs has been there right from the time of Skanda, even before. So it is ridiculous to say that the Greeks had transferred their inner top idea, or that we have borrowed that idea of signs, that is the division of the zodiac, from the Greeks. Sage Markandeya continues the narration by talking about Skanda Apasmara. Apasmara means diseases of the mind. Many mental afflictions and physical afflictions had manifested during the time of Skanda. Particularly, people below the age of 16 were badly affected, and infant mortality rate was very high. People thought that the spirits and ghosts are afflicting them, and they classified the ghosts or spirits into three classes. We can recall the second episode where we talked about the Vishaka's children, of ghosts or spirits escaping from the Vishaka, afflicting the people. That was the opinion of the people in those times, and Skanda came to their rescue and found out ways of protection to the people. Markandeya also talks about mother spirits approaching Skanda. They told Skanda that in a previous era they were entrusted with the task of protecting the children, but somehow they were deprived of it for some time, and now they want back the same duty. Skanda granted them. So from then onwards, different types of mother spirits became the guardian spirits for certain diseases of the children. If these mother spirits are propitiated, the children can be saved from the problems. And in all cases, Skanda was behind the mother spirits, or any spirit of that kind. This gives rise to an opinion whether the diseases were lying low, were very less during the time of Ice Age, or whether they were manifest once sunlight started coming. And there are Yaksha spirits, then Gandharva spirits that afflict the love-struck people, and Pishacha, Siddha, and Rakshasa. These are the names mentioned by Markandeya in the context of how Skanda managed all them, and even though they afflict people, and Skanda, if Skanda was worshipped, or if these are worshipped in the name of Skanda, the afflicted people could be saved. And herein comes the idea of shamanism. Most of these spirits were driven out by some methods which are popularly known as shamanism. And the Tamil counterpart, that is a Tamil word for it, is Veri dance or Velan Veriatam, which is found regularly in ancient Tamil texts, in which it is being told that a devotee of Skanda, who was a shamanist was mostly a devotee of Skanda, and he was known as Vela. Vela is another name for Skanda, and he will do a dance in trance, in the state of trance, and there was even a sacrifice of a lamb or a goat, and he used to invoke Skanda's name on the afflicted person, and Skanda would drive them out. That was the concept. Today also these practices are continuing in many places, many rural places of India, and there is a tendency to reject them as tribal practices. But when we are going into the basics, the sources, we come to know that Skanda's name was associated with that. Since Skanda's name is associated with this kind of shamanistic practices, there is a tendency among some scholars to say that Skanda was a lower deity. He was not accepted as a main deity in those days. That is not true. Why? We will see now. That Skanda was not a lower deity or a tribal deity is known from the fact that Markandeya talks about him as a progenitor of Vedic culture in the very next verse. We will be discussing about it in the next part. Until then, please stay with us. Thank you.